Unfortunately, American civilization has perhaps reached the stage where it's getting soft and weak and degraded. Doug, as we discuss the collapse of American cities, I think it helps if I name the top 10 largest U.S. cities. And there are a lot of ways to slice it, but I'm just going to go by the population of the city proper here to help emphasize the concentrated urban core in order. Number one is New York City by far, more than twice as populous as number two, LA. Third is Chicago. Fourth is Houston. Fifth is Phoenix. And that's rounded out by Philly, San Antonio, San Diego, Dallas, and finally Austin, actually. That is all per the Census Bureau's latest estimate. And 7 out of those 10 actually lost population between 2020 and 2022, some of which is surely due to the health crisis, but we've got to wonder how many are coming back. So, Doug, why don't we start with what made big American cities attractive places to live in the past in the first place?
You want to be with other people that are doing things, building things, creating things. That's number one. That's why people have always lived in cities. It's convenient. It lends itself to specialization and division of labor. You don't have to make your own meals. You can go to a restaurant. So there are many, many advantages to living in a city. But I think that they've become large enough and the society has become corrupt in a lot of ways that cities in the U.S. anyway have become somewhat passé. They're on the slippery slope.
Cities can offer safety, comfort, wealth, community, like you mentioned, but yeah, a lot of American cities have visibly deteriorated across a lot of metrics in recent years. And for an increasing number of people, I think the value proposition of living in cities makes less sense than it used to. What's your take?
Well, now, in addition to the advantages of cities, there are some more obvious disadvantages. Higher taxes, more obvious regulations, a lot more crime, homeless people. We used to call them vagrants or bums, but now they're called homeless or even the unhoused, if you would,
Right.
are rampant throughout these cities that have changed the character and the ambiance of them. And I don't see that it's going to get better. It's a trend that's been in motion for a while, and trends that are in motion tend to stay in motion until they reach some type of a crisis. Then anything can happen.
Now, I presume by now everybody's heard the mnemonic that you actually wrote about in one of your recent articles again. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And unfortunately, American civilization has perhaps reached the stage where it's getting soft and weak and degraded. Why do you think that is?
Well, I attribute a lot of it to the rise of socialist-style values in the U.S., where everybody thinks they can make a living by voting, essentially, or having somebody else do the work and the government can print up money to pay for it. That's a formula for disaster. So I tend to take a rather bearish outlook on the near-term future in the U.S. and actually the world at large. I mean, I've always been a believer in the ascent of man. Things have gotten better and better and better over the 5,000 years of recorded history.
Clean water to fast Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Exactly. And they've gotten better at an accelerating rate so that Ray Kurzweil's singularity seems like it's actually just around the corner, 10 years, 15 years at most. But that's maybe not. Maybe we'll experience some type of a catastrophic collapse in between now and then. Perhaps it'll start with the war and spinning out of control. Entirely possible at this point. And there's nothing that'll set you back worse than global thermonuclear war, unless it's a global biological war or perhaps a global crypto war, since the whole world runs on computers. And all these things are quite realistic prospects at this point. But even if we don't have those things, the American populace has apparently voted. The fact of the matter is we have actual Jacobins rule from Washington, D.C. By that, I mean they're the same people that took over after the French Revolution that wanted to change the entire nature of society. And that's what these people now running the U.S. want to do. And it's not a good thing, in my opinion.
Back in 2020, the defund the police movement, that was spawned from the George Floyd protests. I wonder if the word defund was hyperbolic in order to get attention, but I think some really wanted that. And perhaps instead, reform the police is what they should have meant. Can you speak to
Hmm.
that? And is that where some of this acceleration of the deterioration took place?
Well, the character of US society has changed a lot. People don't believe in basic values like hard work and personal responsibility,
Right.
individual liberty, and things of this nature. Those are very passé. So yeah, it should have been reform the police movement, because the problems with the police in the US is that they're loyal. Well, this is true of any group like that. It's not just American police, but they're loyal first to their colleagues, secondly to their employers, and only thirdly to the people they're supposed to protect and serve. So yes, you need police and you need the right kind of people in police. But I wonder at this point if anybody would really want to join the police. It seems like an opportunity to be pilloried, and an opportunity that if you try to do your job, bad things could happen to you. And of course, there's a danger with police. You tend to get guys that have an extra Y chromosome that join it. They're more aggressive than, and of course they need to be. But it's quite a problem. But it all adds up to the fact that people don't want to live in cities the way they used to. And there are less advantages to living in cities than there used to be. So, take New York, or, well, any city in the US, when you have thousands and thousands of unemployed migrants coming to the city every day, and they all expect to be fed and housed and clothed. The question is, where and by who? It can actually tear the fabric of society. So, since this is happening in all cities today, there's a migration of productive people out of cities, not even to the suburbs, but to exurbs beyond that, and preferably to small towns.
You can watch this one next.